The chamber was enormous, stretching far beyond the human eye. The walls shimmered with strange symbols that glowed faintly, casting eerie reflections across the polished floor. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in perfect rows, their eyes fixed on the humans standing at the center. Some had scales, others had wings, some had more than 2 eyes, and a few seemed like floating shapes that defied description. They all shared one thing in common: suspicion and anger. At the front of the human crew, Anna stood tall. Her posture was straight, confident, but relaxed. Her brown eyes scanned the room calmly. She had been trained for moments like this her entire life, but the weight of the galactic tribunal was still something else entirely. Beside her were her crew: Eli, the quiet strategist who never spoke more than needed, Mia, the fearless pilot with a grin that made enemies uneasy, and Noah, the communications officer who could decode almost any alien language in seconds. Together they looked ordinary, almost too ordinary, which made them all the more dangerous. The air hummed with tension. A deep, metallic voice echoed across the chamber. "Earth has broken the galactic combat code," the alien hissed. Its skin was blue and shimmering, and its eyes glowed like coals. "Your fleets attacked without warning. Your actions endangered lives, violated treaties, and broke every rule we hold sacred. You have no right to do what you did." Anna smiled. It was small, almost casual, but it carried an undercurrent of confidence that made the aliens pause. "That's why we don't follow yours," she said softly, letting the words sink into the chamber like a stone dropped in water. A murmur ran through the crowd. Some aliens looked shocked. Others looked furious. A few whispered to one another in a language humans could not understand. Anna did not flinch. She knew they expected fear. They expected humans to beg or explain themselves. That was what most species did when faced with judgment, but humans were different. Humans had survived things that no other species could. Humans had survived being hunted, betrayed, and nearly destroyed countless times, and they had done it because they refused to be predictable. That refusal had carried them across the stars, and now it carried them into this room. The alien who had spoken first narrowed its glowing eyes. Its voice was sharp, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Do you not respect the rules? Do you not understand that your actions could spark interstellar war?" Eli stepped slightly forward. He did not smile. His voice was calm, steady, precise. "We understand your rules. We just do not live by them. Our methods may be unconventional, but they work. They save lives. Our enemies fear our creativity more than our firepower." The tribunal murmured again. Several species whispered among themselves. One, a tall being with translucent skin, spoke rapidly in clicks and whistles. The translators in the chamber struggled to keep up, but the meaning was clear: confusion. Aliens did not like confusion. They liked rules, order, and predictability. Humans were none of those things. Mia leaned casually against the edge of the platform. She let out a small laugh, low and almost musical, that echoed faintly. "You see, we humans like to improvise," she said. "We like to turn your rules into suggestions. It's more fun that way." A growl came from somewhere in the chamber. The alien leader, an enormous creature with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red, banged its fists on the floor. The sound reverberated through the room like thunder. "This is an insult. You mock the tribunal." Noah stepped forward, raising a hand slightly. His voice was calm like Eli's, but carried a different kind of authority. "We are not mocking. We are simply being human. If your rules prevent survival, we find a better way. It is not disrespect. It is pragmatism." The chamber fell silent again. Even the whispering aliens stopped, listening. Humans had a way of doing that, of forcing attention without shouting. They did not need weapons to command respect. Their presence alone, their quiet confidence, could make the most powerful beings pause. Anna turned slightly to look at her crew, letting the aliens see her calm confidence reflected in the group. They were small in number, ordinary in appearance, and unarmed, at least visibly, but their unity, intelligence, and courage made them formidable. "We will not fight by your rules," she said. "We fight by what works. That is how Earth survives." The blue-skinned alien hissed again, frustration clear in every word. "You dare lecture the tribunal? You dare claim survival justifies breaking laws?" Eli's voice cut through the tension. "We are not claiming anything. We are proving it. Your rules cannot contain life, creativity, or the human spirit. You can punish us if you wish, but you cannot stop what we are." For the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed the faces of the aliens. The tribunal had never faced a species that openly defied their authority with such calm, logical reasoning. Most species begged for mercy, tried to negotiate, or fell into fear. Humans did none of those things. Humans were unpredictable. Anna walked slowly to the center of the platform. Every eye in the chamber followed her. She paused, letting the silence stretch. "We are not your enemies," she said. "We do not seek to break peace. But we will not be bound by fear or outdated rules. We will survive and we will thrive no matter the laws you impose." A ripple of shock moved through the alien delegates. Some whispered nervously. Others looked angry, their claws or tendrils twitching. One, a small red creature with sharp eyes, whispered, "They are not afraid. They cannot be afraid." Anna turned slightly, locking eyes with the red creature. "Fear is a choice," she said softly. "We choose courage instead." The alien leader slammed its fists again, the sound echoing like distant thunder. "Enough," it roared. "Your species is reckless, defiant, and dangerous. You will answer for your crimes." Anna did not flinch. She let a small smile play at her lips. "Perhaps," she said. "Or perhaps you will learn that the galaxy needs humans alive. That sometimes the laws you make cannot contain life itself." Noah leaned closer to her, his eyes scanning the alien crowd. "They do not understand," he murmured. "They will," Anna replied. "Eventually they always do." The chamber fell into tense silence again. The humans remained at the center, calm, unshaken, a quiet storm of confidence and ingenuity. Aliens were used to power, weapons, and intimidation, but humans had none of that in a visible form. Their power was in unpredictability, in thought, in courage. It was terrifying in its own subtle way. Hours passed, the tribunal debating. Humans did not move, did not plead, did not beg. They simply existed, confident and aware of their value. Each alien delegate who had come expecting to intimidate the humans left with something new: unease. Humans were not predictable, not controllable, and certainly not afraid. As the sun-like lights in the chamber dimmed, signaling the end of the day, Anna turned to her crew. "We have made our point," she said quietly. "Now we wait." Mia laughed softly. "Wait? You mean watch them panic while we sip tea?" Anna smiled. "Something like that." Eli shook his head but could not hide a small grin. "They do not realize it yet, but humans are different. They never could contain us." Noah looked out at the stars visible through the giant windows of the chamber. "And someday they will respect that, whether they want to or not." Anna took a deep breath, looking out at the vast galaxy beyond the tribunal. Somewhere out there, countless species had already tried to predict, control, or destroy humanity. All had failed. All would continue to fail. "We do not follow your laws," Anna said again, softly, almost to herself. "We follow our own. And that is why we survive." Outside the chamber, the stars shone cold and distant. But inside, a quiet fire burned in the hearts of 4 humans, small against the galaxy, yet unyielding. They were not just survivors. They were a force no tribunal, no law, no army could truly contain. And somewhere in the distance, the aliens understood, even if only faintly, that humans were a species unlike any other. Clever, brave, unpredictable, and utterly unstoppable. Anna turned back to face the tribunal, smiling faintly. "We are ready for whatever comes next," she said. "Because we are humans. And humans survive." The chamber remained silent for a long moment, the tension thick, the air electric. Then the alien leader hissed again, clearly frustrated, but beneath the anger there was something else. A spark of fear, the first flicker of respect. Anna did not react to it. She simply stood there, calm, patient, confident. Humans had faced worse than a tribunal. Humans had survived worse than the galaxy itself. And this was nothing. The stars outside continued to shine, distant and cold, but inside the chamber one truth became clear. Humans would not be broken, controlled, or tamed. Not now, not ever. And that was why they did not follow anyone's laws but their own. The asteroid belt stretched before them like a river of rock, moving slowly yet endlessly through the darkness of space. Thousands of jagged stones of every size floated silently, some glowing faintly from the nearby stars. The alien fleet was moving in formation, its ships sleek, fast, and deadly, scanning the area with their sensors for any hint of human activity. They believed they were prepared, that nothing could surprise them. But humans were not so easy to predict. Eli sat in the control chair of the lead ship, fingers dancing across the console with precision. His face was calm, eyes sharp and focused. He had spent years studying alien sensors, learning their strengths and weaknesses. Every beep, every flicker of light, every signal anomaly was information. And he was about to turn all of it against them. "Shields at minimum. Engines to silent mode," Eli ordered, his voice low but steady. The small human ships obeyed instantly, their hulls dimming, engines barely humming. The fleet looked like ghosts among the asteroids, shadows moving in perfect silence. Anna leaned back in her command seat, watching the displays with a faint smile. Remember, stay unpredictable. They expect patterns. We give them chaos. Mia's hands flew across her own controls, piloting her ship through a narrow passage between two massive asteroids. She laughed softly, the sound almost musical. Chaos is our specialty, she said, eyes glinting. Noah monitored the alien communications, listening for orders, warnings, or panic. They're tightening formation, he reported. They think we're trying to hide. They're scanning every rock. Eli shook his head slightly. No, they're scanning for threats. And we are a threat they cannot find. Watch closely. With a swift motion, he activated a small device on the ship's hull. A pulse of light flickered across the sensors. The alien fleet's monitors lit up with false readings. Phantom ships appearing, multiple targets that did not exist. The aliens shifted, trying to respond to threats that were only illusions. Their systems were momentarily overwhelmed, their coordination faltering. Now, Eli whispered. The human ships slipped through the gaps, moving silently, perfectly timed. Small plasma bursts lit up briefly as they shot from the shadows, striking alien ships in weak points no one expected. Not enough to destroy, but enough to confuse, enough to force the aliens to react. Every strike was precise, a note in a symphony of chaos. One alien ship spun wildly, trying to evade, while another slowed too much and drifted into the path of an asteroid. Explosions rocked the area, small at first, then larger as the humans continued their dance of misdirection. Mia grinned as she maneuvered through the rocks. They don't even know where we are, she called over the comms, excitement in her voice. Anna's voice was calm. Good. Keep them guessing. Do not fire unless it is necessary. Let them waste their energy and focus. The human fleet was small, only 6 ships in total, but the aliens had assumed numbers alone would determine the outcome. They had not counted on strategy, imagination, or improvisation. Humans did not follow predictable patterns. Humans did not rely on brute force. Humans fought like minds in motion, fluid and unpredictable. Noah's fingers flew over his console. He intercepted alien communications, sending false signals back. Alien captains barked orders, believing reinforcements were nearby, only to find empty space. Some ships tried to chase phantoms, drifting far from the main fleet, leaving gaps that the humans exploited. Eli smiled faintly. Keep them scared. Keep them confused. They cannot fight shadows. Mia spun her ship around a massive asteroid, using its gravity to slingshot behind a larger alien vessel. She fired a concentrated burst at the engine compartment. The alien ship jolted violently, thrusters misfiring, but the human ship was already gone, swallowed by darkness. The alien leader's voice crackled across the comms, furious and metallic. Where are they? Where are the humans? Do not let them escape. Anna tilted her head slightly. They won't find us, she said softly. Not here, not now. We do not want to be found. We want to teach them to fear being outsmarted. Eli monitored their position constantly, calculating angles, velocities, and probabilities. Every asteroid could be used as a shield, every debris cloud as a cover. The humans moved like shadows, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. Every strike was brief, every retreat deliberate, like a predator teaching the prey to respect it. The alien fleet tried to respond with superior firepower, but every time they fired, the humans had already shifted position. Mines and sensors placed along predictable paths were avoided with ease. Every attempt to trap the humans failed, and the aliens began to realize that their own rules, systems, and expectations were the humans' greatest advantage. Mia laughed again, her voice echoing in the comms. It's too easy. They don't even know we're real ships half the time. Anna shook her head with a smile. Easy for you maybe, but remember, precision is key. One mistake and we could be gone. Keep focus. The humans continued their dance through the asteroid belt for hours. Small bursts of energy, quick maneuvers, silent approaches, and sudden retreats became their language. Every alien ship that moved aggressively found itself in the wrong place at the wrong time. Every ship that tried to predict the humans ended up chasing shadows. Noah intercepted another message. They're losing coordination. Ships are drifting off course. Confusion is spreading. They don't know which threats are real. Eli nodded. Good. That is exactly what we want. Fear and uncertainty work in our favor. As they approached a particularly dense section of asteroids, A large boulder shifted unexpectedly. Many species would have panicked, but humans thrived on adaptability. Mia adjusted her trajectory in milliseconds, slipping through a gap smaller than her ship, and emerged on the other side unscathed. The aliens, however, miscalculated. Two ships collided with smaller asteroids, systems failing instantly. Anna allowed herself a small smile. Every mistake they make is a lesson for them. Every misstep proves our point. The humans moved as a unit, communicating silently through a combination of gestures, lights, and subtle signals over the comms. Every crew member knew exactly what to do. Every movement was deliberate, every strike precise. Small ships attacked weak points, then disappeared into the shadow of rocks. No large battle raged. No unnecessary destruction occurred. The humans did not need it. Their strategy was enough. Hours passed, but to the aliens it felt like days. They chased illusions, miscalculated every move, and became frustrated at every turn. They had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt, to improvise, to think creatively in combat. No manual, no strategy, no law could prepare them for a species that thrived on unpredictability. Finally, the humans reached the far edge of the asteroid belt. The alien fleet was scattered, disorganized, and exhausted. Not one human ship had been lost, not one crew harmed. The aliens had been outmaneuvered at every turn, their systems tricked, their expectations shattered. Anna looked around at her crew, her face calm but proud. "We did exactly what we needed," she said softly. "They learned something about humans today. They just don't realize it yet." Mia laughed quietly. "And they never will," she said, a sparkle in her eyes. Eli's fingers hovered over his controls, already scanning ahead. "Let's keep moving. There's still a long way to go, and the galaxy doesn't wait." Noah nodded, eyes on the sensors. "They may never predict us. They may never understand how we think. And that is exactly how it should be." The human ships slipped into the shadows, invisible against the asteroid belt, leaving behind only confusion, frustration, and a growing respect the aliens did not yet admit. Small, ordinary-looking humans had outsmarted a fleet many times their size using only their minds, courage, and ingenuity. Anna turned to the stars beyond the belt, the faint light reflecting on her face. "Humans survive because we are unpredictable," she said quietly. "And as long as we are, no one can control us." The asteroid belt became just another memory in their journey, another lesson in the humans' quiet power. They moved on, shadows among the stars, leaving the alien fleet scrambling to understand what they had just faced. And somewhere deep in the alien command, a thought began to form, almost fear, almost respect. Humans were unlike any other species in the galaxy. They were clever, fast, brave, and impossible to predict. And that was why humans would survive, always. The chamber was tense, almost unbearably so. The air buzzed with the combined energy of hundreds of alien delegates, each species glaring at the small group of humans with a mix of fear, anger, and confusion. The humans had survived what should have been a crushing attack, outsmarted the alien fleet in ways that no manual could have predicted, and now, instead of surrendering, they stood calmly, daring to exist under scrutiny. The leader of the tribunal, a massive four-armed alien with scales that glimmered red and gold, slammed one hand against the floor. The sound reverberated like thunder through the enormous chamber. "Confiscate their ships," it roared, its voice booming across the room. "They have broken the galactic combat code, defied the laws of this tribunal, and threatened interstellar order. Their fleets are to be seized immediately." A wave of whispers spread through the alien delegates. Smaller species nodded vigorously, eager to see humanity punished. A few, however, exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that humans were different, something they had underestimated. Mia leaned slightly toward Noah, her voice low and amused. "They don't know us yet," she whispered, letting the words hang like a warning in the air. Her grin was mischievous, but there was steel behind it, a confidence born from countless drills, battles, and moments of survival against impossible odds. Noah glanced back at her, fingers moving quickly across his console. He had already begun to intercept communications and analyze the alien fleet's weaknesses. "They will learn soon enough," he murmured. "They just won't know how it happens." Anna, standing tall at the center of the human crew, surveyed the chamber. She did not flinch, though the eyes of hundreds of species were fixed on her. Her brown eyes were calm, unwavering, and bright with confidence. "You can make laws," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber in clear, deliberate tones, "but not us. Humans do not obey rules that do not make sense. We survive by thinking, by adapting, and by acting where others hesitate. Your laws cannot contain us. The murmurs rose again, louder this time. Some delegates hissed at her words, their voices like metallic sparks against glass. Others froze, unsure whether to be angered or impressed. Humans had never spoken like this before in their presence. Normally, a species would beg for mercy, explain themselves, or try to negotiate. Humans did none of those things. They simply stated facts, calmly and without fear. The tribunal leader banged its fists on the floor again, causing a small tremor. This is an insult. A direct insult to the authority of the tribunal. You will answer for your arrogance. Eli stepped forward slightly, his posture relaxed but commanding. We are not arrogant, he said, voice steady and precise. We are practical. We live by logic, strategy, and experience. We survive. That is our rule. That is our law. You may enforce your regulations, but you cannot enforce them upon a species that does not fear failure. A smaller alien with wings that shimmered violet and silver spoke up, its tone sharp with disbelief. You speak as though your survival gives you power over the law. Anna's smile was faint, almost imperceptible. Not power over the law. Power over ourselves. We do not need your approval to act. Our choices, our strategy, and our courage are our own. If your rules conflict with survival, they are useless. That is the reality you must face. The chamber fell silent again. Some aliens shuffled uncomfortably. Some looked around at each other, clearly debating whether to continue the argument. The humans had no weapons visible, no overwhelming numbers, and yet they radiated authority, confidence, and the quiet threat of intellect. Mia's voice cut softly through the silence. We don't need ships to intimidate you. We need brains, courage, and teamwork. You can take the hulls if you want, but we will still win. Noah adjusted the communications console, sending subtle interference signals into the alien systems. He smiled faintly, watching as confusion began to ripple through the tribunal's fleet monitors. They think they control the situation, he muttered. They don't even see the games we're playing yet. The tribunal leader's 4 eyes glared at the humans, each glowing brighter with rage. You are reckless. You risk the lives of all species in this sector by refusing to comply. Confiscate their ships and imprison them. Eli shook his head slowly, almost with amusement. You misunderstand. We are not reckless. We are careful, deliberate, and efficient. Our methods may seem strange, but they work. The galaxy has survived our presence, and so will it continue to do. Fear and chaos may scare others, but it strengthens us. Some smaller delegates muttered under their breath, doubt creeping into their voices. Even among the tribunal, questions were forming that no one dared voice out loud. What made humans different? How had a handful of ships outsmarted a fleet many times larger? Why did humans appear calm when every other species would have panicked? Anna stepped forward a little more, hands relaxed at her sides. We are not here to fight you, she said evenly. We are here to survive and to protect those who rely on us. Our methods may conflict with your laws, but that is not the same as disobedience for its own sake. You may see us as dangerous. You may see us as lawbreakers. But we are simply effective. The tribunal leader bellowed in frustration, shaking the floor again. This is unacceptable. You will answer for your crimes. Anna's eyes met the leader's gaze. She held it without fear. And yet here we stand. You may try to punish us, but you cannot break what we are. Humans are not bound by fear. Humans adapt. Humans survive. That is a fact you cannot change, no matter how many laws you pass. Mia leaned casually against the edge of the platform, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We didn't come here to beg, she said softly. We came here to prove that humans are not like everyone else. You can take our ships, you can try to imprison us, but you cannot take our minds, our courage, or our creativity. That is ours and ours alone. Noah nodded in agreement, though his expression remained serious. They think control comes from rules and weapons, he said quietly. They don't understand that the real power comes from knowing who you are and refusing to be predictable. That is what humans have always done. Eli's calm voice echoed once more. History has shown it again and again. Every species that tried to control humans failed. Every fleet that underestimated them was defeated. Every law they attempted to impose was ignored or turned to advantage. We are not lawless because we are reckless. We are lawless because survival demands intelligence, adaptation, and courage. The murmurs among the delegates grew louder. Some whispered nervously to their neighbors. Others glanced at the leader, unsure whether to continue the aggression or concede that something about humans had changed the dynamics in the room. Anna raised her hand slightly, signaling the humans to remain silent and still. "We are not here to insult, harm, or defy without reason," she said calmly. "We are here because we must be. Because survival is not negotiable. We fight for life, for strategy, for intelligence, and for our right to exist as humans. That is not arrogance. That is reality." The alien leader slammed its fists again, shaking the chamber. "Enough. You will submit to our authority." Anna tilted her head slightly, not in defiance but in observation. "Authority does not exist without recognition. You have authority over your species, your fleets, your laws. But not over humans. That is a universal truth. You cannot enforce obedience where it does not exist." The chamber grew quieter as the weight of her words settled. Some delegates looked uneasy. Others were visibly shaken. Even those who remained angry could not deny the confidence radiating from these humans. They were small in number, unarmed in appearance, but in every gesture, every word, every calm motion, they carried a threat far greater than weapons: certainty, intellect, and courage. Mia whispered again to Noah, "They are starting to realize they can't control us." Noah smiled faintly. "Yes. And that realization is worth more than any fleet or law." Anna surveyed the room one last time before stepping back. "We are humans. We survive. We adapt. And no tribunal, no law, no fleet, and no species can change that. That is our truth. That is why we stand here, unafraid, unbroken, and undefeated." For a long moment, the chamber was silent. The humans had said nothing loud, nothing threatening, and yet, their presence filled the room with a tension that no weapon could match. The alien leader hissed, frustrated but thoughtful. Somewhere deep in its mind, a spark of doubt had formed. It had faced humans in battle before, but never in this way. Never had humans stood and spoken without fear, without panic, without pleading, and made their point with words and presence alone. Anna turned slightly, her expression calm but resolute. "We are ready for whatever comes next," she said quietly, though every delegate in the room could hear her words. "Because we are humans. And humans survive." And with that, the humans remained standing, unshaken, a quiet storm of intelligence and courage in the middle of an alien tribunal that had thought itself in complete control. The aliens realized slowly, painfully, that humans could not be bound by their rules, controlled by their laws, or broken by their threats. Humans were something entirely different, a species that refused fear, embraced uncertainty, and turned unpredictability into power. And that was why no matter what the aliens tried, no matter what punishments they threatened, humans would always endure. The simulation chamber was massive, larger than any training room the humans had seen before. Holographic stars floated in every direction, asteroids and space debris projected in perfect detail, and alien warships shimmered as if ready for battle. The entire tribunal watched from their viewing platforms, their multiple eyes and sensors focused on the humans who had already proven themselves unpredictable. Anna stood at the center, her posture calm and deliberate. "We requested this demonstration to show that humans are not reckless," she said evenly. Her words carried authority but also a quiet challenge. "You will see that strategy, intelligence, and teamwork are what define us, not numbers or brute force." Sam, the tactical leader for the human squad, took his place at the control station. His dark hair fell slightly over his eyes, and his hands moved swiftly across the controls. He had studied the simulation environment for hours, analyzing every variable, every possible scenario, every weakness in the alien strategy. Every step of this demonstration had been prepared, yet it relied on human adaptability, improvisation, and intuition. The holographic simulation projected a fleet of 20 alien ships against only 6 human vessels. The aliens outside the chamber murmured among themselves, clearly confident in their numbers. To them this was a show of power. To the humans it was a puzzle to solve. "Sam, you take the lead," Anna said quietly. "Eli, monitor their sensors and predict their movements. Mia, position our fleet. Noah, manage communications and counter their interference. Remember, they are expecting patterns. We give them none." The humans moved their small squad with precision, weaving through holographic asteroids and debris. The alien ships advanced as predicted, scanning the area for threats. But Eli had already sent false signals, creating dozens of phantom ships, each mimicking the movement of the humans. The aliens adjusted their positions, attempting to intercept targets that didn't exist. Sam's voice was calm but firm over the comms. "Phase 1 complete. Initiating diversion." Mia's ship darted between 2 massive holographic asteroids, slipping through a narrow gap so small that a single miscalculation would have destroyed her vessel. A pulse of light flared briefly from her weapons system, striking the flank of a much larger alien ship, causing it to spin and drift out of formation. The aliens gasped as they watched their fleet falter. Their larger ships were supposed to dominate, overwhelm, and intimidate. Instead, they were being outmaneuvered by 6 small human vessels. Every move seemed unpredictable, every strike precise, every retreat deliberate. Anna's voice was calm, almost serene. They believe numbers matter. They do not. Strategy and adaptability always outweigh size and force. Noah's fingers danced across the communication panel, intercepting alien orders and feeding them back into the simulation, scrambled and delayed. Alien ships responded to the false data, turning away from actual threats, chasing shadows that were not real. Confusion rippled through the holographic fleet, exactly as the humans had planned. Sam gave a quiet command, and the human ships split into 3 pairs, each moving in synchronized yet unpredictable patterns. One pair acted as decoys, drawing alien fire, while the other 2 prepared to strike at the enemy's weak points. Each move was calculated, yet it appeared improvised. The aliens, trained to follow strict tactics and formation protocols, struggled to respond. Mia grinned as she maneuvered her ship behind an enemy vessel. "They're panicking," she said softly. "Can you see it?" Eli's voice was calm but tinged with satisfaction. "Yes. Their sensors are overloaded. They cannot track our positions accurately. Every attempt to engage us is failing." The alien observers shifted in their seats. Some clicked their mandibles nervously. Others whispered rapidly, clearly trying to analyze what they were witnessing. The tribunal had never seen such a demonstration. 6 human ships were outmaneuvering a fleet several times their size, not with firepower alone, but with intelligence, teamwork, and adaptability. Sam's squad moved as one, communicating silently through subtle signals. They exploited every flaw in the simulation: predictable sensor patterns, blind spots, and the delays in alien communication. Every maneuver was calculated to maximize confusion while minimizing risk. A massive holographic asteroid suddenly drifted into the path of the alien fleet. Sam's squad used it as cover, slipping between its shadows while the alien ships struggled to avoid collision. One alien vessel collided with debris, forcing the crew to eject from the simulation to avoid a crash. Another misfired its weapons, creating an opening that Sam's team used to strike decisively. Anna watched carefully, her eyes sharp. "Notice," she said quietly, "they respond with force, predictably. We do not respond predictably. That is the difference." Mia's ship twisted in a sharp maneuver, striking a key engine compartment of an enemy vessel before retreating into the holographic shadows. The alien ship spun, helpless and disoriented. "And again," Mia whispered, exhilarated. Noah monitored communications, feeding false threat signals back into the simulation. "They think reinforcements are incoming. They reposition to defend, but we are not attacking those areas. They are moving into empty space. Their fleet is collapsing on itself." Eli analyzed movement patterns, predicting where the alien ships would move next. "Strike here and here," he directed. "Mia, you and Sam hit the rear flank. Anna, you maintain central control and ensure cohesion. Noah, keep feeding interference. Phase 2 begins now." The humans executed with flawless precision. Small strikes, careful retreats, and constant movement created chaos among the alien fleet. The holographic simulation showed alien ships drifting, colliding, and firing at empty space. Their formation dissolved, their strategy failing at every turn. Anna's calm voice carried across the chamber. "Observe carefully. Humans do not rely on numbers. We rely on thought, coordination, and adaptability. Our strength lies in intelligence, not in size." Even the alien leader, massive and imposing, could not hide its astonishment. Its 4 arms folded in thought, eyes narrowing as it realized the humans were demonstrating more than skill. They were demonstrating something alien in its own right: creativity, courage, and a refusal to follow expected rules. Mia's ship zipped around a drifting asteroid, striking at another weak point before retreating seamlessly into cover. "They can't predict us," she said, voice low and full of excitement. Eli nodded. "And that is our greatest advantage. Predictability is weakness. Chaos is strength." Noah's console blinked as he continued sending false signals. The alien fleet outside the simulation was visibly reacting to phantom threats, their confusion amplified by human interference. "They are losing cohesion," he said. "They don't even know which are real ships and which are shadows." Sam's squad executed the final phase, converging from multiple angles and striking key positions in rapid succession. The alien fleet was scattered, disorganized, and overwhelmed without being destroyed. They had been defeated not by firepower, but by the humans' superior strategy and cunning. The chamber fell silent as the simulation ended. The humans stood calmly as if nothing had happened. Sam leaned back slightly, allowing a faint smile. "It's done," he said quietly. The aliens stared in shock. Some whispered to each other, clearly struggling to comprehend what they had just seen. The tribunal had expected a display of power, a predictable engagement, but they had witnessed something far more unsettling. 6 small human ships outsmarting a fleet many times their size, exploiting every weakness and maintaining perfect cohesion. Anna stepped forward, her posture calm and commanding. "You see," she said softly, "we do not rely on brute force. We rely on intelligence, coordination, and adaptability. That is why humans survive. That is why humans are dangerous in ways that your manuals cannot explain." A few delegates clicked their mandibles nervously. Some whispered rapidly, while others simply stared, their expressions unreadable. Even the alien leader, imposing and fierce, could not deny the effectiveness of what they had witnessed. Mia leaned toward Anna. "They are amazed," she whispered. "I've never seen them so quiet." Anna smiled faintly. "Yes, they do not understand yet, but they will. Humans are not just strong. We are clever, adaptable, and fearless. And that makes us unstoppable." Noah glanced at the displays, showing the alien fleet's failed formations and wasted movements. "They are learning," he said quietly. "Not about us but about what they underestimated. That is more valuable than any victory." Eli nodded. "And that lesson will stay with them. We do not need to destroy ships to prove a point. Strategy alone is enough." The tribunal remained silent, observing the humans with a mix of fear, respect, and disbelief. 6 small human ships had outsmarted a larger fleet without breaking a single holographic rule. They had turned chaos into a weapon and uncertainty into strength. Anna turned to her crew, calm and steady. "We have done exactly what we needed. The lesson is clear." Mia's grin was wide. "And they still don't understand us." Eli's eyes were focused, sharp. "They never will. That is the advantage humans have, unpredictability." Noah nodded, looking at the alien tribunal. "And that advantage is what makes humans survive, always." The simulation ended and the humans stood together, calm and composed. The aliens had witnessed brilliance, strategy, and ingenuity unlike anything in their experience. Humans had demonstrated power not through firepower or numbers, but through mind, courage, and adaptability. And somewhere deep in the observation deck, a thought began to form among the alien delegates. Humans were unlike any other species. Clever, adaptable, fearless, and unpredictable. And that was why humans would always endure. The tribunal chamber was silent after the human demonstration. Even the aliens who had thought themselves confident were uneasy, their multiple eyes flicking nervously between each other. The humans had not fought with weapons alone. They had used their minds, their strategy, and their ability to think unpredictably. That display had shaken the confidence of the tribunal more than any battle ever could. Finally, a tall alien with silver skin and elongated limbs leaned forward, voice ringing through the chamber. "Explain yourselves. Why do you ignore the laws of the Galactic Combat Code? Why do you act without fear, without obedience, without regard for our rules?" Lucy, standing among the humans, stepped forward calmly. Her brown hair framed her determined face, and her green eyes held steady contact with the alien. She did not hesitate, did not falter, and did not lower her gaze. "We survive differently," she said, voice even but firm. "That's all. Your rules may work for you. They may guide other species. But humans are not guided by the same limitations. We think, adapt, and act according to reality, not regulation. Survival is our law." A murmur ran through the tribunal. Many aliens clicked their mandibles, hissed, or tilted their heads in confusion. Some whispered to each other, struggling to understand the meaning of her words. Humans survive differently? Ignored rules? The concept was alien and frightening. It implied unpredictability, something no protocol could contain. Anna, standing slightly behind Lucy, added her voice, calm but commanding. "Predict us and you fail," she said softly, letting the words resonate across the chamber. "We are not dangerous because of strength. We are dangerous because you cannot anticipate what we will do next. Your fleets, your laws, your strategies, they only work against species who can be predicted. Humans cannot." The tribunal leader, a massive being with emerald scales, slammed one fist against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber like rolling thunder. "You speak boldly," it said, voice trembling with both anger and disbelief. "Do you not fear consequences? Do you not respect authority? Eli stepped forward, expression calm, voice deliberate. Fear is a tool for some species, he said. It is useful for obedience, for control. But humans survive without fear. We understand risk, we calculate it, and we act to our advantage. Authority is irrelevant if it cannot ensure our survival. That is how humans operate. That is why humans endure. A small alien with translucent wings whispered rapidly to its neighbor. They are dangerous, it said. Not because of weapons or numbers, but because they do not obey, they do not fear. Their minds, they are unpredictable. Mia tilted her head slightly, a faint smile crossing her face. Exactly, she said quietly. We survive by being clever, by adapting, by moving faster than anyone can anticipate. Rules do not limit us. Your strategies do not stop us. And your fear of the unknown gives us strength. Noah's hands rested lightly on his console, where he monitored signals and communications within the chamber. He had already intercepted messages among the alien delegates, and he knew exactly how unsettled they were. Even those who tried to hide it could not. Humans were changing the way the aliens thought about strategy, authority, and survival. Anna looked across the room, her gaze steady. Many species rely on laws and rules because they fear unpredictability, she said. They fear failure. Humans, however, embrace it. We learn, we adapt, we overcome. That is not recklessness. That is intelligence. That is survival. That is why our methods seem strange, and that is why we cannot be predicted. A veteran alien delegate with jagged silver armor clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. But your methods are chaotic. You risk lives, you challenge fleets larger than yours. You disregard our regulations. How can you succeed so consistently? Lucy replied without hesitation. Because we do not follow a path laid by fear or tradition. We observe, we calculate, and we act. Our small mistakes are lessons. Our risks are strategies. You see chaos. We see opportunity. And that is why humans survive when others fail. The murmurs of the tribunal grew louder, though many voices were nervous and cautious. It was clear that some delegates were beginning to fear the implications of what these humans represented. If even a few ships, operated by 6 humans, could outsmart a fleet and defy laws, then what might the species be capable of in open combat, in diplomacy, or in long-term strategy? Eli's calm voice broke through again. You ask why humans ignore your rules, he said. It is simple. Your rules are designed to manage species who can be contained, who can be predicted. Humans cannot. Rules work only if the participants fear the consequences or respect the authority enforcing them. Humans respect neither. We act according to logic, survival, and adaptability. That is not lawlessness. That is efficiency. Some delegates tilted their heads, clearly uncomfortable with the idea that law was meaningless to a species. Others whispered rapidly to one another, exchanging theories and calculations. Fear of unpredictability had never been discussed in a tribunal chamber before. Humans were teaching them lessons that no fleet, weapon, or lawbook could provide. Anna added one final point, calm but resolute. We are not here to challenge authority for its own sake. We are here to survive. We do not seek conflict, but we are prepared for it. We do not follow rules that endanger our survival. And we do not allow fear to control our choices. That is how humans endure. That is why humans are dangerous in ways you cannot measure. The room grew silent. Even the most aggressive delegates could not find words to respond. They had witnessed the simulation, the strategy, and the calm defiance of the humans. And now, they were hearing humans speak openly about their methods, without fear, without apology, and without a need for validation. Mia leaned slightly toward Anna, whispering softly. They are realizing that humans are different. They cannot control us, predict us, or contain us. It's like watching a storm they cannot measure. Anna nodded, eyes scanning the chamber. Yes. And storms cannot be tamed. They cannot be stopped. They can only be respected, or they will sweep away those who underestimate them. The tribunal leader, emerald-scaled and massive, finally spoke, voice low and measured. Your words, they are dangerous. We have never encountered a species that values unpredictability over obedience, thought over protocol, survival over law. How can we contain you? Lucy's voice was calm, almost gentle, yet filled with certainty. You cannot contain humans. You cannot predict humans. And you cannot force humans to act against their survival. That is not arrogance. That is reality. Eli added, voice steady. You may threaten fleets, pass laws, or impose penalties. You may try to corner humans in battle or diplomacy. But you will fail every time, Because humans act according to principles you do not understand. Adaptability, ingenuity, and courage. That is our strength. That is our survival. A young alien delegate, wings shimmering faintly, whispered nervously to its neighbor. They are unstoppable. Not because of force but because of thought. And unpredictability. We cannot plan for them. Mia smiled faintly, a spark of amusement in her eyes. Exactly. They fear what they cannot predict. We thrive in that space. That is why humans survive. Anna stepped closer to the center of the chamber. We are not reckless, nor are we lawless in intent. We are intelligent, resourceful, and adaptable. If you attempt to predict us, you will fail. If you attempt to control us, you will fail. And if you attempt to punish us simply for being human, you will fail. We do not act out of fear. We act out of survival. The alien delegates shifted, visibly disturbed by the clarity and confidence in her words. It was not a threat of violence, yet it was more terrifying than any fleet. Humans were a species that refused predictability. They refused fear. They refused to be contained. And that, the aliens realized with growing unease, made them a force beyond conventional measurement. Noah's quiet voice broke the tension. They can make all the rules they want. They can threaten all the fleets in the galaxy. But humans survive differently. That is something they cannot change. Lucy added softly, we do not seek conflict. We do not desire war. But we cannot follow rules that endanger our survival. That is our choice and our strength. Anna concluded, her voice calm, steady, and final. Predict us and you fail. Attempt to control us and you fail. Challenge humans on intellect, strategy, and adaptability and you fail. That is why humans survive. That is why humans endure. That is why no law or fleet can ever contain us. The chamber fell silent once more, the weight of their words settling over the alien delegates like a heavy fog. For the first time, the tribunal and the gathered species had to reckon not with physical power, but with intelligence, courage, and unpredictability. Humans were a force unlike any other, not because of weapons or numbers, but because of thought, adaptation, and unwavering confidence in their own survival. And somewhere deep within the alien hierarchy, a thought formed, quietly but unmistakably: humans could not be predicted, controlled, or contained. Humans would survive always. Years had passed since the tribunal incident, and the galaxy had changed in ways few could have predicted. Humans, once underestimated and viewed as a minor species in the grand scheme of interstellar politics, had become sought after by alliances, coalitions, and even former enemies. Their reputation for intelligence, cunning, adaptability, and courage had spread across star systems. While no fleet could predict them, no strategy could fully anticipate them, and no law could bind them, the humans were no longer seen as a threat to be crushed. They were partners, advisors, and sometimes even reluctant mentors. Anna stood on the observation deck of the human flagship, gazing at the endless expanse of stars. She had always loved this view, the infinite possibilities, the silent witness of countless civilizations, and the quiet hum of human ingenuity in the darkness of space. The stars reminded her of the challenges humans had faced and the victories they had earned, not through brute force alone, but through intellect, courage, and the ability to survive against impossible odds. Eli joined her silently, his presence steady and calm. He looked at the stars alongside Anna, his expression thoughtful. It's amazing how far we've come, he said quietly. They used to underestimate us. They thought humans would follow their rules, fear their fleets, and bow to their authority. Now we're the ones they seek out for guidance, for alliance, for strategy. Anna nodded, eyes still on the stars. It's not about showing power, she said softly. It's about understanding when to act, when to adapt, and when to walk away. Humans have always survived because we do not rush blindly. We do not fight unless it is necessary, and when we do, we fight smart. Across the galaxy, former rivals now approached humans not with weapons drawn, but with respect and caution. Worlds that had once tried to isolate or dominate Earth's colonies now requested human expertise in fleet tactics, exploration strategy, and survival training. Every encounter, every alliance, every negotiation carried the silent acknowledgement that humans were not only resourceful and fearless but also impossible to predict. In the corridors of the flagship, small crews trained daily, honing skills in strategy, adaptability, and improvisation. Children of Earth colonies learned the same lessons their elders had: to think ahead, to observe, to remain calm under pressure, and to use intelligence as their primary weapon. The stories of past battles, simulations, and defiance against alien tribunals became legendary, passed down as lessons in courage and strategy. Mia walked past the training bays, observing a group of young cadets navigating a holographic asteroid field. She smiled faintly. They will learn, she said to herself. The next generation of humans will survive and adapt just like we did. They will continue what we started, not because they are told to, but because they understand it is the only way to endure. Noah was in the communications room, quietly analyzing messages from multiple species seeking alliances or advice. He glanced at a report on a previously hostile system that had now asked for human assistance in coordinating trade routes and fleet patrols. It's fascinating, he murmured to himself. They fear what they cannot control, yet they respect what they cannot predict. That is the balance humans have learned to exploit. Lucy joined him, her voice calm but filled with quiet satisfaction. And they will continue to do so, she said. Humans have always survived by thinking ahead. By being unpredictable. By refusing to bow to fear, rules, or expectation. That is why we endure. Back on the observation deck, Anna's gaze lingered on a particularly distant cluster of stars. I wonder, she said softly, how many civilizations now see humans as the benchmark? The species that can be clever, fearless, and calm all at once. The species that understands that survival is not about violence, but about choice and action. The species that knows when to walk away and when to fight smart. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder gently. It is our nature, he said. Humans do not seek unnecessary conflict. We do not destroy for the sake of fear. But when we act decisively, intelligently, and without hesitation. That is why we are respected, feared, and valued across the galaxy. The flagship's crew moved efficiently around them, maintaining the balance of exploration, diplomacy, and preparedness. Every action carried the imprint of human ingenuity, efficiency, calm observation, and the careful balance of risk and reward. Even ships from former adversaries now approached with caution, knowing that humans could turn even a minor engagement into a display of brilliance. Anna turned to Eli, her expression calm but resolute. Years ago they accused us of breaking the rules, she said, recalling the tribunal. They believed laws could control us, fleets could dominate us, and fear could bind us. But we survived. We thrived. And now they come to us for guidance. Eli nodded, eyes reflecting the starlight. It's not just survival, he said. It's the way we survive. Humans do not obey blindly. Humans do not fight without reason. Humans act with thought, courage, and clarity. That is what makes us dangerous, and that is what makes us endure. A holographic display lit up nearby, showing star systems requesting human intervention in conflicts, trade negotiations, and fleet coordination. Look at this, Noah said, joining them on the deck. Every request is a recognition of what humans represent. Intelligence, strategy, and adaptability. We are no longer just a species. They see us as the standard of survival. Mia stepped beside Anna, her expression contemplative. It's strange, she said softly. They once thought humans were reckless, lawless, small, weak, and predictable. Now they fear unpredictability itself, and they seek our counsel. Anna smiled faintly, a quiet pride shining in her eyes. That is the essence of humanity, she said. We survive not because we dominate, but because we adapt. We survive not because we obey, but because we understand when to act and when to step back. We survive not because we follow rules, but because we make our own path. The galaxy had learned a lesson that could not be unlearned. Humans were unlike any other species. They could not be controlled, predicted, or broken. Their intelligence, courage, and adaptability had turned former enemies into allies and skeptics into admirers. Every encounter, every alliance, and every negotiation carried the silent acknowledgement of their capabilities. Lucy joined Anna, placing a hand on her arm. We've proven something else too, she said quietly. It's not enough to win battles. It's about understanding the balance between survival and action. Knowing when to walk away and when to fight smart. Anna nodded, eyes still fixed on the distant stars. That is the true power of humanity, she said. Not weapons, not numbers, not fleets, but thought, courage, and choice. The galaxy may never fully understand us. And that is our advantage. The human crew on the flagship continued their work, training, planning, and exploring. But there was a quiet, unspoken understanding among them all. Humanity's greatest strength was not in what they could destroy, but in what they could endure, adapt to, and outthink. From distant colonies to bustling starports, from trade negotiations to fleet simulations, humans had become a species that inspired both fear and respect. They were sought after not because they were the largest or the strongest, but because they could think, adapt, and survive where others would fail. Anna finally turned away from the observation deck, glancing at her crew. "We have survived," she said softly. "We have adapted. And the galaxy will continue to seek us, not to destroy but to learn, to ally, and sometimes, to hope that they can match our way of thinking." Eli smiled beside her. "And they will never fully understand us," he said. "Humans survive because they cannot be predicted. They endure because they act with intelligence and courage. That is the lesson we carry, and the one the galaxy cannot ignore." Anna looked back at the stars one final time. "The most dangerous species," she said softly, almost to herself, "knows when to walk away, and when to fight smart." The crew around her moved efficiently, calmly, and confidently, each action reflecting the principles that had carried humanity across countless challenges: thought, adaptability, courage, and strategy. Across the galaxy, humans were no longer a minor species. They were a standard, a challenge, and a force that others could neither contain nor predict. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Anna, Eli, and the human crew understood a truth that could never be taken away. Survival was not just a matter of power. It was a matter of choice, of intelligence, and of knowing exactly when to act. That was humanity. That was why humans endured. No fleets, no laws, no coalition could change it. Humans would survive always. And with that quiet certainty, the human flagship sailed forward into the endless stars, a testament to endurance, intellect, and courage.